Roy Lilley, former NHS Trust chair. Mr. Lilley, welcome back to the show.
Good evening, sir. How are you doing?
I'm very, very well indeed. Are you surprised by that figure of a 12-year high for people waiting for routine treatment?
Well, I'll be honest, Mark, I didn't know it was 12 years, but I'm not surprised that the numbers are going up. I mean, before we got into lockdown, back at the end of last year, the waiting lists for elective procedures, that's the things like hips and knees and cataracts and all the stuff we on a waiting list for, there were 4.4 million people waiting then. Now, on top of that, we've had this belt of COVID, and it looks like we're going to have another one in one way or the other. And they reckon the waiting list now is about 6 million. By Christmas, there are people saying it could be 10. Who knows? But of course, you're on the waiting list. Then you've got to go through the procedures of having your tests and your scans and your imaging, and the doc's figuring out that your lump is or isn't cancer, or the bit that hurts has got to be cut out or what have you. So there's a whole procedure to go through. And the problem is this, Mark. I mean, the NHS is working under the same social distancing rules and governance as a hairdresser's or a pub. And you can see what it's doing to the pubs. It's closing the pubs down. The NHS is having the same problem. They reckon in some parts of the NHS that the capacity is cut by 30%. Because of social distancing. I mean, let's say, for example, today you had to go for an outpatient appointment. Well, before you can go, they've got to figure out whether or not you're safe to go to hospital. So they've divided the hospitals into two. You've got Hospital Red, which is where the people with known COVID are. Hospital Blue, where people are, query COVID because we don't know yet. And so before that, you've got to be tested. If they say, yes, you need an operation, then you have to be tested again, self-isolated for 14 days. I mean, it's a huge palaver, and the waiting lists are running up and up and up.
Indeed. With the clock against us, Roy, what would you do if you had a magic wand? I know that we can't make this virus disappear, but would you recalibrate slightly how the NHS is focusing its resources at the moment?
Well, firstly, I would recalibrate how we deal with the social distancing and the general guidelines, because I think there are things that you can do in hospital under strict governance rules that would make life a bit easier. That's the first thing. Secondly, the NHS is doing exactly what I would do. I would divide up the estate. The hospitals, in some will do the specialist elective stuff. Others would do the emergency COVID. And they're doing exactly the right thing, in my view. They're now starting doing imaging and testing centres away from the hospital. So we know they're COVID clean, and then we can crank people through the diagnostics and the testing. So, but it's going to take a long time. And if we have another dose of this on top of the flu, God knows what the lists are going to be.
Deeply worrying thoughts. Roy, I wish we had more time. Let's speak again. Roy Lilley is the former NHS Trust chair. This is Talk Radio. Let's continue the conversation after this.